Okay, on to the next skip the line reaction, man, and this one is The Cure, Where the Birds Always Sing. I don't think we've ever reacted to The Cure. I've never heard of this group, band, person, have no idea. This is a skip the line reaction again from Vicky Smith. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the skip the line. Let's get straight onto this, man. Let's see what we've got over here. Let's go. I like the drums in this already. Instrumental intro.
The world is neither fair nor unfair. The idea's just a way for us to understand.
The world is neither fair or unfair. The idea, okay, this is you going very philosophical over here. So it's all just an idea for us to understand. Okay, I can understand where they're going with that philosophy, essentially, where it's like that's the parameters we put in our life, right? We try to say, okay, this is fair and this is unfair, and what basically the notion that he's trying to talk about here. Things are as they are, right? They're neither fair or unfair. They're just there in place and you deal with them as they come. Whether you feel it's fair or whether you feel it's not fair, it doesn't make a difference. It needs to be dealt with either way, all right? It's just how reality exists is he's kind of saying that he's trying to put this inside sort of like a middle ground, very linear to a certain degree. So if I had to actually think about that, is if you think of something as fair as unfair, it's somewhat limiting to a certain degree. So you actually think that, oh no, that was unfair, but it's because somebody has purported to you that those actions are kind of unfair, right? It's something that you yourself have to sort of navigate through. And I feel that a lot of people can use that as a crutch in the sense of like, okay, no, that was unfair. And because it was unfair, that's going to hold me back because he did it. It's a way of placing blame on somebody, right? Because we have to, just our human existence, we have to blame someone for what is happening in our existence, even if it's our own fault. At the end of the day, there is nobody to blame. It really is just you, right? It's just you, and you've got to just handle it, regardless of what is being done.
The idea's just a way for us to understand. But the world is neither fair nor unfair. So one survives, the others die, and you always want the reason why.
I just literally just said that. We always need to justify something, right? We need to point fingers somewhere because that's sort of, it makes us feel better about it, right? Nobody ever wants to take on guilt. Now, that's the whole idea of morality. It's the whole idea of having standards for your life, and why today's generation don't want any standards in their life, and they want to live in this abyss with no guide rails. Because if you don't hold yourself by a particular standard, you don't feel guilty for the things that you do that are wrong. You don't feel guilty for your sins. Holding yourself to a standard in your life is going to make you feel guilty, and that's what keeps you in check. Guilt is a very important thing. Guilt makes you stay in check, all right? And the idea of removing standards is purely to remove the guilt, because nobody wants to deal with guilt. Guilt's painful. Guilt's hard to deal with.
And you just nor unjust. It's just trying to feel that there's some sense in it. No, the world is neither just nor unjust. No going young.
See, that over there is like what happens, happens, is basically what he's trying to purport there. All right? There's no just or unjust. These are just terms, and these are just coping mechanisms to a certain degree. It's like this was unjustly done to me, or this was justly done to me, or something like that. Right? It's a coping mechanism. Again, it's playing into that these things just happen, right? It's how we label them in our lives is what sort of at least comforts us, because we can sort of always push that on. It's kind of an interesting philosophy that I actually once read, in the sense of like the belief in God through a system like a church, in terms of like you want to hear the belief and the structure for the belief through somebody else's mouth. You want to live through what they're saying, right? Instead of your own connection to the being that you, to the God that you supposedly worship, right? Because actually having that direct connection to the God, where you're actually talking directly to the God that passes judgment, right, is too intimidating, and it's hard to handle when you know that you've done something wrong, when you know you've sinned, right? So you actually do it through a proxy, so that it lands better on your psyche, essentially. So you take those beliefs and what he is saying, and you take those from him, from like a priest, right? So that it avoids the direct conversation with the mighty and powerful, essentially. It was actually a very interesting, I can't remember it, I've read that book a while ago. I can't remember the exact notion of the book, but the notion of the idea of the book was that God actually exists within you, and when you've sinned, you don't feel that way, so you will deflect and you will try to understand the world, or understand something through a proxy, because it lands better, it's more comforting, as opposed to actually looking at yourself in the mirror and saying that you failed God himself, because a piece of God is within you. You are God within yourself, and when you fail yourself, you feel like you're failing God, right? And a way to deflect that is to go into a place like a church and listen to somebody else, so you feel that you're disconnected from having to face the reality of your sins directly, essentially. So it was actually, I'm not entirely sure if I'm giving too much credence to what I've read, but it was a while ago. It was actually a very interesting philosophy.
So much undone is a tragedy for everyone.
Life's a tragedy, man.
It doesn't speak a plan or any secret thing. No one's inside or untold truth in anything.
What dog?
Believing on in others, memories and dreams is not enough. Want everything, another world where the sun always shines.
See, that over there, I really like that. It's like that is human nature. It's human nature to want absolutely everything. It's human nature to always fixate on the things they don't have as opposed to the things that they do have, right? And you want to be living in a world where the sun is always shining, and that does not exist. That is just completely, and that's why I say, and I said it in one of my other reactions, where it is why fixate on something that is not yet happening, and we do it all of the time, because there are so many people in the world that just you staring out the window into sunshine, all right, and feeling the warmth of the sun in your own home, right? So many people around the world would die to be in that position, would die to be in your position. They would die to be in your position, right? They are dealing with life's tragedies as it is. Do you know what I mean? They can't feed themselves. Families have died. Families have been blown up, right? And they still got to wake up the next morning and not even be able to appreciate the sun because they got to go and walk miles to go and get like wheat or go and get water in their sandals so that they can feed their families and things like that. And here we are looking at these mundane things and sort of forecasting our despair and forecasting our unhappiness and our depression through our anxieties. Essentially, it's like, why do any of that in advance? That is coming at some point in your life. You are gonna have to deal with loss. You are gonna have to deal with unbelievably tragic things, and that's coming. That's with 100% certainty. That is going to come in your life. Why do you need to why do you need to be miserable in advance when you know that's coming? When it comes, be miserable then. You don't need to be miserable now about mundane things that you don't have yet. Rather focus on the things that you do have. Okay, I like that.
The sun always shines and the birds always sing. After always sing. Fair nor unfair. The idea's just a way for us to understand. No, the world is neither fair nor unfair. So some survive and others die.
It's the world,
and you always want the reason why. But the world is neither just nor unjust.
Kind of also brings me back to something I read as well, where it's about living in the question as opposed to trying to seek the answer, because there is no answer, right? There's no answer to your existence. It's a forever changing. It's a super dynamic thing from the moment you are born. It's all dynamic, and it can go one way, it can go the other way, it can implode, it cannot at the end of the day. And so many of us always try to seek the answer that there are no answers. That answer is forever changing. It's ever shifting at the end of the day. But the most important thing is the question. Live in the question, right? The actual question of life. The thing is that, what are you here for? We don't know what the answer to that is, right? But the actual question in itself is a degree of an answer, because it's like, I'm obviously here for something, right? The actual mathematical statistic of me actually being alive, existing in this massive universe, right? That took an incredible amount of like mathematical chance to actually exist, for me to actually be alive today, for my heart to beat today, is like literally 1 in a trillion for me, that for the actual sake of me being alive, to have taken through the universe existing and through planets and through big bangs and through life evolving in a certain way and through an entire lineage right up to your great-grandparents, to your parents, to then a single sperm cell out of millions that decide to fight for its existence, for its way into the world. The mathematical probability of that is absolutely insane. And then you get the heartbeat you brought to life in a couple of years later to sit there and say, oh no, all of this is unfair, this is a shit life. At the end of the day, it's like, should you not be focusing on the positive over here? You're here through an extraordinary amount of chance, and you're given this one shot. You're gonna tap out? That's the be all and end all of the miracle that came before you. You're just gonna tap out. No fighting to to strive for something better, to exist, to succeed, to be better each day. You're just gonna tap out, right? That is the legacy you want to leave. It's quite an interesting notion, right?
The just, no unjust. It's just us trying to feel there's some sense in it. No, the world is neither just nor unjust. No going wrong. So much undone. It's a tragedy for everyone. It doesn't mean there has to be a way to think. No special sense that hidden hands are pulling strings.
Again, that plays into the thing. It's like there doesn't need to be a sense of that there's a hidden hand that's playing strings, which kind of obviously he's alluding to God over there. The idea that we, and it's more for hope, it's more for purpose, it's more to feel like our existence actually means something. And again, I will say that we don't need more people believing that there is a God. We need more people acting as if there is one. That's the difference. That is actually the difference in the world over here. It's like we don't need more people to, there's a man in the sky. No, we need more people acting as if there is a man in the sky, even if there isn't one, right? Because that will give you the essence to your life, right? Through your actions, right? Your actions speak everything. Your words speak absolutely nothing. It's all about your actions. And if you act in a way that that there is something great, that there's something greater than you that keeps you in check, right? That is a meaningful life, right? That is a meaningful life. Even if it's not there, it doesn't mean that it's not about the belief in something higher. It's acting as if there is something higher. That brings the meaning. That brings the purpose.
On in others, memories and dreams is not enough, and it never is. You always want so much more than this. An endless sense of soul and an eternity of love. Sweet mother down below, and a just father above. Living on in others, memories and dreams is not enough. You want everything. Another world where the birds always sing. Another world where the sun always shines. Another world.
The reason another world like that could never exist is because you'd never be able to appreciate that world ever. Like that would be a life with zero value and zero meaning, right? A world with no adversity, no troubles, everything is easy, and the sun always shines, the birds always sing, never storms, nothing. What a meaningless life. Meaningless life. Where's your opposite, your equal opposite on the other side, which gives value to the good times? Where's the darkness that gives value to the light? Where's the love that gives value? Where's the hate that gives value to the love? Right? Where's the war that gives value to the peace? Where's the inhumanity that gives value to the humanity? Where's the hard work that gives where's the laziness that gives value to the hard work? There needs to be an equal opposite. That's why it exists at the end of the day. You can't have a top of a table without a bottom of a table. You can't have a left without a right. You can't have a top without a down. Right? And you can't appreciate good times. You can't appreciate love if you haven't experienced hurt, pain, and hate. You can't appreciate adversity. You can't appreciate good times if you haven't felt what adversity is like. If everything's good, where's the value? Where's the value? I appreciate my six-pack because I've worked to attain the six-pack. It takes an incredible amount of work to attain a body that you want. And then when people look at that, they're like, holy shit, that's a flippin' amazing body. If everybody could get a six-pack, there'd be no value in a six-pack. Everybody would sit there, okay, everyone's got a six-pack. We wouldn't even be speaking about it, right? That would be a dark world because then there literally would be no meaning. Absolutely no meaning. Dark times give light times more value.
Where the sun always shines, another world where nothing ever dies.
I like that he ended on that line. Another world where nothing ever dies. Things have to die in order to appreciate life. If I had to give you another 100,000 years to live, 100,000 years to live, and you won't die in 100,000 years, instantly your life would lose value. Instantly. There's all the time in the world. There's no urgency to anything. Absolutely. The reason why our existence is so meaningful is because there's an urgency. It's because we don't live forever. Life is increasingly fleeting. Do you know what I mean? And we know we've only got a set amount of time to achieve a set amount of things. If I had to extend that and give you 100,000 years, you wouldn't need to achieve those things now. I've got all the time in the world, man. You know what I mean? It immediately takes the urgency out of life, which takes the beauty out of life. I've got to do it now. I've got to appreciate my life now. I've got to appreciate my family now. I've got to do this now because I won't be here forever, and I need to pass this on to the next generation. I need to pass something meaningful on to the next generation, right? It's urgent. It needs to happen now. Anyway, that was a great song, very philosophical, great song, because it's quite a long reaction over here, but I apologize about that. But anyway, these kind of songs tend to sort of make you think a little bit. You guys let me know what you think down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!